All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome to the board meeting for National School District. Thank you for taking time out of your evening to come tonight. Would you please stand with us as we do the pledge of allegiance? Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will you please call the roll?
Ms. Lopez.
Present.
Ms. Armenta.
Present.
Ms. Marisol Castañeda.
Present.
Ms. Ábalos.
Present. Present. I want to take a minute as we open today in Minneapolis. There was a shooting at a parish associated school, Annunciation Catholic School. They lost 2 children, 8 years old and 10 years old, with 17 others injured, 14 of those ages 6 through 15. And the other 3 were in their 80s. We were also mentioning we've lost a National City neighbor recently to violence. We've had a student who was once ours, who's over at Sweetwater, who was shot recently. We just want to take a moment to honor the people and the families involved in these various situations. Thank you. We're going to begin our evening with item number 5, which is presentations. Item 5A is to introduce and welcome new employees. Dr. Kevin.
I have the pleasure of introducing our employees. Unfortunately, our new employees could not make it. However, I would still like to read a little bit about them for our audience. So our first new employee is Anoy Kyodara, teacher at Olivewood School. Ms. Kyodara has over 2 years of teaching experience. She has worked as a long-term substitute teacher and temporarily as a teacher for NSD. She holds a bachelor's degree in arts and science from San Diego State University and a master's in education from National University. Welcome, Noy. For our classified employees, we have Petra Bar Padilla, Child Nutrition Services Assistant from Ira Harbison School. Ms. Bar Padilla has over a year of food handling experience. She holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the Universidad de las Californias Internacional and has been a substitute with the Child Nutrition Services Department since November of 2024. Welcome, Petra. And our last new employee is Jeanette Ramirez, Child Nutrition Services Assistant at Lincoln Acres School. Ms. Ramirez graduated from Lincoln High School and has over a year of experience preparing meals as a caregiver. Welcome, Jeanette. And welcome to all of our new employees.
Item 6 is public communications. Public communication provides the public with an opportunity to address the board regarding an item on the agenda or other topic. Anyone wishing to address the board shall submit a request for oral communications card. Cards are available near the entrance to the boardroom and are to be submitted to the recording secretary. A member of the public who wishes to address the board on any such matter is limited to 3 minutes for one matter, up to a maximum of 5 minutes for all closed and open session matters. There shall be a limit of 20 minutes for any matter unless such time limit is waived by a majority vote of the board. Members of the public may not yield any time to other speakers. No board action can be taken. I currently have 2 cards. Do we have any others? First, I have Sandra Hollis, and second, Shelby Carswell.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Sandra Hollis. Most of my students know me as Miss Sandy and my family. I have proudly served this district for 26 years. I have always looked forward to coming to work each day, but for the first time in my career, I find myself dreading it. This is heartbreaking to admit because I love my students, I love teaching, and I love this community. Recently, aides have been removed from many SDC classrooms, including mine. While my class numbers may appear low on paper, the reality is very different. The students I serve are challenging and require a great deal of attention. I am deeply concerned for their safety, especially on a playground that is not safe for the level of supervision we are now able to provide. We've been told two different things. First, that aides would return as soon as our numbers went up, and later the aides are assigned based on individual student need, not numbers. Yet, when I asked for additional support, I was told directly that because of my numbers are low, I would not get it. These contradictions leave teachers frustrated and unsupported. What troubles me most is that these staffing decisions are being made without anyone coming into my classroom to truly see what my students require. After nearly 3 decades of giving my very best, going above and beyond for students and families, it is disheartening to feel treated like nothing more than a chess piece moved around on a chessboard. This is not a game. These children's lives, safety, and education, it's what we're talking about. Teachers are not pawns. We are professionals who deserve respect and a voice in decisions that impact our classrooms. I am asking you tonight to listen, not just to me, but to all teachers and staff who are experiencing this. Please reconsider how these decisions are being made. Ensure consistency in communication, and most importantly, come see what is really happening in our classrooms before deciding what support we do or do not need. Our students deserve better, and so do we. Thank you so much for your time.
Ms. Carswell.
Good evening, board members and executive cabinet. My name is Shelby Carswell, and I'm a 3rd through 6th grade Botsiger teacher at Olivewood Elementary. My class has students who are non-ambulatory, nonverbal, and with challenging behaviors. They are not yet independent in a variety of skills. We work on academics, communication, behavior, life skills, and more. I could not achieve any of these things on my own. I rely on the instructional assistants that work with me, not only to support students with academics, but also with toileting and feeding. I was told that due to numbers, I will lose an IA from my classroom. This is happening to SDC classes across the district. I thought we based staffing on student need, not on numbers. The decision was made without any administrator coming to observe my class. After the decision was made, the director and coordinator of student support services came to visit my classroom for 15 minutes, only to justify their decision to remove support from my students. I was asked by the director to pick which IA I volunteer as tribute, as if losing staff was a lighthearted moment. After a meeting with my site principal and the director to explain my concerns, I was informed that a campus supervisor will be assigned to my classroom for an hour and a half every day to cover for the IAs on their lunches. I do not know where in the campus supervisor job description it says that they can be asked to provide academic or behavioral support to students, toileting and diapering, or anything else that our IAs do. But at Olivewood, campus supervisors are expected to do IA work without IA pay and benefits. This decision was made without my principal ever coming to my room to observe my classroom to determine the exact needs. NSD administrators show very little concern for what happens in my classroom all day long. This staffing change will leave me with one classroom IA and a one-on-one for a student who requires all-day support. Dr. Vargas claims that the district is returning to pre-pandemic levels of staffing. Per his own documents, pre-pandemic Montsevier staffing was at least 3 IAs. One-on-ones did not count as classroom IAs as they were assigned to one student all day. After years of being told Montsevier classes would be staffed at 3 classroom IAs, the staffing change will leave me with only 1. With such an extreme change, my job will shift from teaching to managing safety. With only one classroom IA, we will struggle to meet students' most basic needs. The district's position seems to be that as long as students are not getting injured, we do not need appropriate staffing to do anything beyond that, such as meet academic goals or mainstream. You cannot expect your Mod Severe teachers to work miracles. I want to have a classroom where students make educational progress and feel safe. I want them to be able to participate in field trips and mainstreaming with their peers. Now I worry about us being able to leave the classroom to do anything at all. This is not what our SDC students deserve. It is my responsibility to advocate for the students in my classroom who cannot do so for themselves, for their safety, but not also for their right to be successful at school. Why are budget cuts being made to the classroom first at the detriment to our most vulnerable population? It is your responsibility as board members to take the steps necessary to ensure our SDC students are not overlooked. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Item 7 is our agenda. 7A is to accept the agenda. Do I have a motion? Okay, I have a motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Papalos. Correction needs made. It says by Sarmiento. It goes by Papalos. Could you correct that for us, please? On the second is listed as, no, you can't correct it.
I can correct it from here on your, I can correct your screen.
All right, please vote.
For your clarification, my, says state one. Or do
Right,
I
I
vote?
can't correct I can't
Oh,
correct your
no,
screen.
our voters are in the wrong spaces because I just voted as Lopez and she voted as me. So our voters are,
Then we can do a manual.
okay, yes, please. Yeah, we're flipped. Brian, is it possible for you to fix this?
It wouldn't, like, take all day.
Okay, all right, then we'll call it. All right, will you please call for votes?
Ms. Lopez.
Aye.
Ms. Amanda.
Aye.
Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda. Ms. Avalos. Yes. Ms. Lee.
Yes.
Item passes unanimously.
Okay. Item 8, to approve the consent agenda, routine items of business. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be acted upon in one action by the board. It is understood the superintendent has recommended approval for these items. There will be no discussion prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. All items approved by the board will be deemed considered in full and adopted as recommended. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. All right, I have a motion to approve by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda and a second by trustee Lopez. Would you please call the vote?
Ms. Lopez.
Aye.
Discussion, please.
Yes, you may. Wait, not on consent? Do you have something you want to pull?
I just want to ask a question about
We have to pull it. Oh, okay. Happy to let you pull it, but it's fine.
That's okay.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Ms. Lopez.
Aye.
Ms. Sarmiento.
Aye.
Ms. Bettencourt Castaneda.
Yes, and item 8.
Ms. Avalos.
Yes, and
Ms. Lee.
I will be abstaining. My husband works with my woman as, and there are some non-monetary contracts in here, but I'd like to keep that separate.
Item passes unanimously.
Item 9, policies, regulations, and bylaws. Item 9A, first reading of board policy 0441, artificial intelligence. Dr. Brady.
Yes, this is a policy for first reading. I know that several of our board members have been attending conferences and talking about policy for AI. CSBA this summer did come out with a model policy, and I'm presenting it to you tonight for first reading. We can discuss it at the next meeting. If you have certain things, questions that you would like me to look into before that meeting, please let me know, and I'll have those prepared for a rich discussion at our next meeting.
Any questions, comments?
No, just, I just want to say thank you for bringing this forward. I know this is something that not everyone is comfortable with having the discussion because technology is very challenging for some. So thank you for making sure we're staying up to date.
Trustee Lopez?
Dr. Brady, perhaps at the next meeting, just examples of how AI is being used already in classrooms or how we would foresee that to be used.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I think I would like this policy to actually get some feedback from teachers. Sometimes we do these things in bubbles, and they're the ones who actually are having to figure out if they're going to use it in class, how they're going to use it in class, if they're going to allow students to use it in class, if they're going to penalize students who chose to use it in class, but we've got a whole list of things. So I think that us making a decision without having that discussion or feedback first is not actually helping the people who have to implement the decision. So I would like something there, please. Yes, go ahead, Dr.
Yeah, so I'm just for clarification, would you like a focus group or a survey? Like what, when you say you want something, do you want to pull this and not have this? I do think an administrative regulation kind of gets to what you're talking about. CSBA has not released a model administrative regulation, but this is just the board policy in terms of expectations of use as opposed to practicality and any sort of mandates on use. So maybe we can kind of talk a little bit. I can look into whether or not CSBA is going to bring a model AR, and the AR is where some of those things I think you're mentioning would come in.
Well, and we might want to look at what CTA has in place too. Because there's just different needs, talking about a TK or K student up until 6th grade where we're starting to realize that there's so much of it that we can find. And learning to use it well is one thing. Learning to use it in ways that don't encourage learning is another. And so I would say I just think something more needs to be done that involves people who are actually going to have to teach and train and safeguard and hold accountable. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay.
I just wanted to add, I know that there's on the CSBA, as I mentioned before at delegation week, there's on the CSBA website, there is that the toolkit that we can also fall back on in terms of where we are in our comfortability and being able to help our district in terms of where we want to be able to help us get where we need to be in terms of training and help different groups and to incorporate that into our district. So getting those involved is very important because we're not the ones that up here implementing what's going to be taught and on how teachers are going to be able to decipher what's really AI and so on. So it's a very challenging tool. So that's something that CSBA has invested a lot in. So maybe we can have some sort of, I don't know, a committee, because that's sometimes not always the best approach, but if we can utilize what's already been established and what's already invested, in tools that already done a lot of research to really ensure
If I could add. Yeah. I think some of these are also some guardrails. We know that AI is being used by our students and in many cases our staff. It's in a lot of cases helping people with, doing things either with the efficiency of tool tasks, but I think that some of the policy work being done by CSBA is some of those guardrails. So I'd be happy to run this through a few channels, get some initial feedback as the board reads through it for the first time for some initial feedback. And then when we have our discussion at the next board meeting, we can talk about what steps to take before maybe implementing any policies.
One of the, like, this is what runs through my brain. So when you're dealing with our sixth graders, when you're dealing with eighth graders who I have now, I had students last year who used AI to generate essays. And it was obvious because it was really too pretty, too well thought out. We had words being used that I knew that they did not know. Like what, I'm sorry, but what 12-year-old uses the word whilst? They just don't. And so coming back and being able to take a look at it and go, this is not your rating. They're like, that resulted in a 0 because they're old enough that they get zeros for them. And I had a lot of parent pushback. Our teachers should not be, and this is just an example, our teachers should not have to wonder or worry what they are supposed to do when faced with that situation. There are things like that, that the policy is a little more oriented towards the, it's a policy, and towards the, hey, so AI should be used for good things, and we will use it to encourage growth. Yes, but where its feet for our people to be able to know that when it comes down to it, these are the healthy ways that we encourage our students. These are ways we discourage, and these are the ones that have consequences associated with them, and that includes parents understanding that, as well as the students and our teachers, so that they know that we are backing them up when they say no. That it's not comfortable to be left out in the dark, standing by yourself in the rain, when you have parents who are upset with you, trying to tell you that, well, I looked it up on Google and it wasn't in there. That's because it was written using AI. It was not a Google copy and paste. It's not comfortable, and I don't want our teachers there, is what my, I guess, next level's conversation is for that. So thank you. Anyone else? Okay, item 10, general functions. 10A, we have a report on the LEO's 42nd annual conference from trustee Avalos.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to see everybody here for whatever reasons you're here for. I think they're great. Anyway, as a board member, I do belong to NALEO, the National Association of Latino Elected Officials. I did attend their conference this year, which was done in Atlanta. They have a lot of sessions, many sessions as a matter of fact, so you can pick and choose whatever you want to go to. And one of my sessions that I thought I would go to is mental illness. Because right now, not only our educators, also our parents, our children are going through some kind of mental illness that sometimes we're not even aware of. Because us as parents don't want to admit that we're having a problem. And we certainly don't want to admit that our children are having a problem. It's just like with special ed children. Oh no, my child didn't do that. Well, yeah, they do that, you know, but we don't want to admit it. As a Latino adult of 18 years of mental health, approximately 1 in 5 Latino adults report any mental illness in the past year. 5% past year serious mental illness. 16.5 substance use disordered, also mental illnesses. 4.4 past years also reported mental illness as well as suicide. And that's with our children. Latino adolescents, 12 to 17 years old of mental health. 1 in 5 Latino adolescents report a major depressive episode in the past year. 3.8% co-occurring SUD, 12.4 past year suicide, which is sad. Ideation 6.4 suicide plan, 3.8 suicide attempted. We really have to look into our children. I know that many of you have a lot of children in your classrooms, and it's hard to focus on just one child or how many children that you have there. But I think that us as educators, we have to learn what to look for and what to see in a child that is, I think that after COVID, there was children that were watching parents that had never known what they were fighting all day long or what they were doing in the house all day long while they were in school. Little did we know that it was actually affecting them. Children don't forget. Children don't understand what's going on. And so children come home and they lie. Oh no, my parents don't fight. Oh no, my parents don't do this. Because they're embarrassed, they're ashamed, or they don't want to admit. And that's how some of our children have a mental illness, because it starts working on their mind and stuff. And the risk, cognitive stress, elevated family conflict, low sense of belonging, lower ethnic identity, and greater years living in host country, perceived discrimination, resilience, family traditions, social responsibility, feminism and family cohesion, interpersonal functioning, neighborhood belonging, and religious. This, I'm sorry, was not printed. I can't read it, but I think you all know where I'm kind of coming from. Barriers to care, stigma, low health literacy, language barriers, lack of culture competence, poverty and health insurance coverage, and legal status, distrust of healthcare institutions. So I think that everything that has been going on everywhere, not just now, and not just through COVID, but there's a lot of things that are going on in our families and even in our own teachers' families that are going on, that we have to be aware, and maybe somehow or another, we could take a class on it and know what to look for, or know what to hear and what they're saying when they're speaking to us. So like I said, that was one of the subjects that was very important to me, being that I am in kindergarten up to 6th grade, because those are the children that I was warned about. All of our children are, of what's going on in their home. So I did attend other sessions as well. And of course, one of the biggest one was, of course, immigration, where Steve Padilla was able to speak to all of us on what to do. And, but that's, you know, we're working through that right now too, where parents are afraid, which is also affecting our children, to come out of their homes to go to the store and go eat, or even go just to the corner store to buy a soda. It's affecting them. So let's be aware of what our children are saying and how they're behaving and what they're doing. And I give you educators a lot of respect and all that you do for our children here in National City. I don't think I could be a teacher, but I know that you guys are all doing your very best. So thank you so much for being here in our community.
Any questions for Trustee Avalos?
Any questions? I'll answer them.
Any questions? Yeah.
Did they announce the location for the next one?
I think they probably did, but I don't go that far ahead. I think it's gonna be close by. Probably online. Probably Los Angeles or something. I don't know. But I also belong to LULAC, which is also a great thing. I am a delegate at LULAC, and we did pass a lot of resolutions. This last, I was able to speak to about 1,200 people. And like I said, even they are focused on the children. So thank you for listening. My husband used to say that I used to speak 1,000, most women only speak 1,000 words a day, but me, I speak 5,000, because I have a lot to say. I even talk in the car, so. I'm a good one.
Thank you for bringing that back. All right, item 10B, information on school incident protocols. Dr. Brady.
Yes. Thank you, President Gates, trustees. This is in response to our last board meeting. We had a public comment where a parent asked when there is an incident or there's a concern or a complaint, what's the process? And I did say that I would follow up with that parent, and I believe Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda asked that we bring this information back so that it would be transparent for the public. So we just wanted to kind of go through, as you can see, it's very complex. We kind of said it kind of depends. It depends on what the concern is, what the complaint is, if it's a bullying or facilities or instructional materials or something like that. So the place that somebody would go is to our website, and we have it there, www.nsd.us. If there's an incident or a crime that somebody wants to submit, there's a little flag on the side of the page that looks like that with a little bell, and you can submit something through a Google form that's anonymous, or you can put your name and your phone number if you want to call back. And we do follow up on every single one of those. They are sent to multiple people throughout the district when that comes through, and then we route them based on the nature of the concern. So, for example, we got one last week on the traffic at El Tuyon, and we were able to route that to the principal, Mr. Denegri. He was able to work with the SROs to get some of the SROs out to help with the flow of traffic outside of El Tuyon last week. So we're all going to kind of take a few of these and go through. We're going to do them hopefully pretty fast, but every single procedure we have for a complaint to an incident is outlined in the board policies or the board administrative regulations. And the difference between the policies and the regulations are that the board policies are the expectations that the board sets for the district, kind of the hope, the desire, and what you would like to see. And then the administrative regulation is not really a board policy, but lives with our board policies, and we do ask the board to weigh in on those. And that is the process of how we'll approach something as a district. So it's the district's response to what the board would like to see in the implementation. So I'll start with the first one on complaints. They say BP and AR for board policy and administrative regulation. If you go to policies under board, you type in the word complaint, all of these policies are going to come up because complaint is listed in all of these policies, but they address different types of complaints. So in the general one under 4144, 42, 44, 43, 44, that is pretty much the same board policy and administrative regulation each time. However, in your board policies under personnel, all personnel related policies in the 4000s for certificated staff are in the 4100s. For the classified employees are in the 4200s. And for the administrative and supervisory, they're in the 4300s. So that's why somebody might say they look like the same policy, but they're slightly different because they're addressed differently in California Education Code. For board policy 4144, or the other two, the governing board has set up a fair and confidential process so that employees and job applicants can share concerns and have them addressed. And so this policy really is that whenever possible, we try to work out things informally first, but if a formal complaint is needed, it does outline that the board does not allow for retaliation. And if a complainant's identity can be protected during the investigation, we try to do that. To keep things private, all complaint-related documents are kept in a separate file and they're never placed in an employee's record. So if somebody files a complaint, those are not put into their record. Then the administrative regulation part of that would outlines how employees can raise concerns if they believe that the district policies are being misapplied, or if they have, for example, a whistleblower complaint. The process then starts with an informal conversation with a supervisor, and if the issue isn't resolved, it can move step by step through a written complaint and an appeal all the way up through the superintendent, and finally appeal to the governing board, whose decision would be final. And some of the issues like discrimination, educational compliance, or working conditions follow different procedures as set by other district policies. And so I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Cochran, and he's going to go to the yellow up at the top, which is uniform complaints.
Thank you. So although it's not uncommon to have a training on uniform complaint response that lasts up to 3 hours or more, I strive to be briefer tonight. So another type of concern we receive in response to incidents falls under the category of a uniform complaint, for which we have a uniform complaint procedure, or a UCP. And it is a broad complaint that could have any number of things in the scope. And just to name a few, it could be discrimination, harassment, programs like preschool or adult education, fees, access to materials like Williams, school site council composition, or the LCAP, to name a few. It is a very, and that's to name a few, there's many more. It's a broad potential for what someone could file a uniform complaint regarding. So when a complaint is received, a little bit about our procedure. It does go to our compliance officer. In this district, our compliance officer is the assistant superintendent of ed services, or their designee. And they track the complaint, and they will either address it or assign it to their designee to investigate. We provide notice at the beginning of a uniform complaint to anyone that is involved or will need to be a part of the investigation. We investigate, and then we provide a report, a written report, to the original UCP submitter within 30 days. The district, if it determines there was a problem, can apply corrective action if needed. And the conclusion of the process, there is a 60-day window or timeline to have the entire process completed. And the original submitter has rights to appeal the district's decision or findings or corrective action to the California Department of Education. So that's a little bit about our uniform complaints that we receive, what they may be composed of, and what our response procedures are. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Keppen, who will speak a little bit about grievances.
And before Dr. Keppen starts, all of what we're telling you is summary from the board policy and the AR as written online. So we're not sharing information here that if you're trying to take copious notes or somebody says, oh, I missed all that, that's a lot of information. If you go to our website and look this up, this is a summary of how it's outlined in our board policy and administrative regulations.
I have grievances, 4319.4, and really what this just does is it authorizes the chain of authority, and it just lists in terms of each level that you want to go to with a complaint. And so it starts off with going to your immediate supervisor or principal. Next would be the assistant superintendents, could be any one of us three. Then it would go to the superintendent and then to the governing board. So it's a short policy just showing the chain of authority. The next policy that I have is Board Policy 4030 and 4031. It's non-discrimination in employment. So an employee or a job applicant could file a complaint. They may file a written complaint. And, the coordinator that receives the complaint will have an investigation. All of these have an investigation part to it. It will be completed within 30 days, or they try to, with possible extensions if needed. Either party may appeal the findings to the governing board within 10 working days. And additionally, in this one, somebody could complain to the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. If they would like to take it a step further within 1 year of the complaint, they can also make a complaint to Equal Employment Opportunity Commission within 180 days to 300 days, depending on how many complaints the person has already filed. The next one I have is complaints concerning district employees. That's 1312.1. Again, this one also talks about resolving at the earliest stages possible, which would be the immediate supervisor or principal. It is a written complaint, and an investigation will take place. We're required to let the employee know within 5 days that a complaint has been filed. We also attempt to resolve this complaint within 30 days. Either party also may appeal to the governing board, and the governing board will review the complaints and take action if anything is unresolved. And the last one that I have is Title IX, sexual harassment. This one outlines complaints of sexual harassment involving district employees. And that can be quite a bit of things that it lists. It's quid pro quo harassment, severe and pervasive unwelcome conduct, sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, or stalking. And so in the policy, it talks about supportive measures, some measures that can be taken as the investigation proceeds. This one does have 60 days to resolve the complaint, but also has a standard, it's like a legal standard that talks about the preponderance of the evidence with this one. And then both parties have the right to appeal as well. And the district must maintain the records for 7 years. And then next, Dr. Filia is going to talk about instructional materials.
Thank you. Yes, so additionally, there's also a process in order to submit a complaint regarding instructional materials. As you know, the board has a policy that outlines that process for complaints regarding the content or the use of instructional materials. And that process, again, begins with an informal complaint, potentially, where parents or guardians would be encouraged to discuss any concerns regarding the instructional materials, first with their teacher and then with the school principal. If that concern isn't resolved, then the complaint can be formalized, and a written complaint would then be submitted to the principal, which would then be submitted to myself, and then also in collaboration with our superintendent. At that time, the content of the materials would be reviewed and investigated, and there would even be a potential of having to convene a review committee in order to take a look at the content and understand the complaint. So at that point, then there would be a decision that would be made within 30 days is the timeline in order to be able to land on a decision about the materials. And again, if the individual doesn't agree with that, there's a process to be able to appeal to the governing board so that their decision would then be final. Additionally, with this one, there is also an exhibit that's 1312.2E. So that exhibit actually has a specific form that could be used if there is a request for reconsideration of any instructional materials. And then the next one there has to do with special education. And anyone familiar with special education is very familiar, I'm sure, with the procedural safeguards. And so this is, again, provides specific information for families regarding procedural safeguards and the complaint process within special education. So as you know, parents or guardians of students with disabilities receive written notice of their rights under the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. So that actually outlines the process. If there is a dispute between the district and a parent or guardian of a student with disabilities regarding either special ed identification, assessment, or the educational placement of the student, or the provision of FAPE, free and appropriate public education, to the student, the superintendent or designee would, again, first start with informal resolution is the goal there at a school level to the extent possible. But of course, if those things aren't resolved, then it could go to due process. And that, again, is more of a formalized process. Ensuring that that's why we always want to make sure that our families understand those procedural safeguards so that they would understand their rights if there was any type of disagreement.
So again, we know that the board has spent a lot of time in these policies and administrative regulations, but just to respond to that public comment and just kind of show that it is very layered, but there's lots of opportunities and avenues if somebody has a concern. But again, starting informally, and it can formalize throughout this process if needed. Are there any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to say thank you for sharing all this information. I know that it can be very cumbersome for parents to navigate this information or not know where to go. But it's very important that we do share it and be very transparent, because when we're, as a parent, are in a crisis or have some concerns, sometimes we don't know where to go. And by having this information shared, again, being transparent, at least they know that we're on the same team. And so they know that we want to be helpful and know that we are there to be supportive of the situation. So thank you again for taking the time and ensuring that we are there for everyone. Thank you.
Trustee Sarmiento?
Yeah, I'd just like to have clarification for the audience of the difference between a board policy and the administrative regulation.
Okay, so just again, like I was mentioning earlier, the board policy sets the expectation from the board, kind of the outcomes that you'd like to see, and the administrative regulation outlines the practice that the district would take, or the procedure the district would take to implement that board policy.
Trustee Lopez?
Yes, I had a question about the actual form and the materials or instructional materials. Can that be found in the policy itself, or is it somewhere else more accessible?
It is there in the policy.
Go ahead. Just to add to that, that was a great question, Trustee Lopez. So anytime you see the letter E in any of our board policies, that's called an exhibit that can be downloaded, and they're usually forms that can be used to submit something.
I'm wondering for, timelines are mentioned repeatedly. So how do we document, how are we documenting timelines? Who tracks that information so that we are accountable on our end to make sure that all those steps get taken care of? Rochambeau, go.
Well, I'll speak to the ones in kind of my area there, but those timelines, once we receive something like that, then that's something that we track. So we basically have our own kind of organizational, like a spreadsheet where we're keeping track of that and put those dates on the calendar to ensure that we're adhering by those timelines, because that's required.
I have nothing to add other than having been responsible for tracking and ensuring responses within particular timelines. I agree. It's a combination of organizational methods and I think self-calendar invites, although this is quite into the minutia at this point. But self-calendar invites truly are very helpful.
Calendar, we use calendars, spreadsheets, and we always have the complaint in front of us too with the date, making sure that we're within that time frame.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda?
So I just have a question. I know sometimes if we were to, or when we get a complaint, we keep a timeline, but are we letting them know that we received the complaint as opposed to just waiting for the timeline to expire? Just so that we know, they know that we've received it and so that we're not keeping them in the dark, because we don't want families or anybody, whether it be a family or an employee or anybody, to think that they're not being heard, because that the communication is very important. And so is that the normal process and protocol that we have? Because I don't want the line of communication to be dropped. Is that fair to say?
Thank you. So just speaking from past experiences, although I'm new to National School District, you absolutely provide a response that it is received, and sometimes your response will only be that it is received, because that point where you receive it and provide them notice starts that timeline, and you notify them of that timeline in that first communication. That's my past experience.
It depends on how we receive it. If it's an emailed complaint, then we will respond saying it's been received. If it's in person, most likely they will be with somebody that will accept that and say they've received it, and we timestamp it. Also, if they just mail it or drop it off and we don't have a chance to interact with the person, we'll make a phone call letting them know that we've received it. But typically it's a phone call, then a meeting to know more about the complaint.
And then just to add, for example, the parent that came to speak in public comment, and we had an opportunity to follow up with her. And then once I understood the nature of her complaint, I spoke to her at length on the telephone and was able to follow up with her in writing and attach the board policy and the administrative regulation of which complaint it was and how, so she would have the procedure of how that was going to be assessed. And I know that in the past, there's been some concerns that the timeline has been missed or gone over. And, I can even speak from my own experience of being involved with like the subject of a complaint that took 8 months to investigate. And I think that sometimes things they don't just resolve in 30 days, right? They talk to one person, and the one person says, you really should talk to this other person. And then they say, you should talk to this other person. And during those conversations, new information comes up, new concerns come up, and those have to be investigated. And so I think where we can be maybe better is if a complaint is going beyond a timeline, just talk, like sending that notification of needing that extension. So I do think that does happen at times, and we do try to do that. I also know that in the past, we did have somebody that was very upset with the district, and they sent several complaints. I got 9 of them, for example, on Labor Day, right? It was on a holiday, and I got 9 different emails with 9 different very robust complaints. And then after that, and I know the board's aware of some of these, there were OCR complaints, which are Office of Civil Rights, and California Department of Education complaints. And so all of these had to be investigated kind of simultaneously, but if you have that many, sometimes that's the volume is too much to be able to do in that same timeline. Now we do have a risk manager, Charlene Barajas, and she has been very instrumental in making sure that people are aware of, we've received your complaint, we're working on your complaint. She's very good at calling and communicating. It's been very helpful to us so we can continue with district business, but also be responsive to the concerns and complaints we receive.
One last question for you. There's, the first step tends to be or for the immediate supervisor, right? Or principal. What happens when a person is not comfortable with that person? what is the recommendation for someone? What is the wisdom for someone who turns around or who goes, actually, my problem is the person I'm supposed to go to, so what is wisdom for them?
So in that case, they can come to the district office and file a complaint. But really generally, it's a complaint that they've already tried to resolve at the lowest level and they have not been successful. And so then they come to us, sort of, not really an appeal, but as a second look to that complaint. But sometimes we do find that the teacher's not aware, the principal's not aware, and the parent just came to the district. So there are some times where we won't begin a complaint process just yet until they have the opportunity to even address it and see, because sometimes they say, we didn't even know that the parent felt this way. So it kind of varies, but they can always come to us and then we can direct them to where they need to be.
Any other questions? Thank you. Item 10C is to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting held on August 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
All right, I have a motion to approve by trustee Sarmiento, a second by trustee Lopez.
It's like these were.
Oh, look, I'm board president. Ms. M. Gates again. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So again, motion by trustee Sarmiento, second by trustee Lopez. Please vote.
Margaret?
Oh, sorry,
I did abstain.
motion to reconsider. We will need to revote. Okay, again, motion made by trustee Sarmiento, second by trustee Lopez. Thank you. And item 10D is to adopt resolution 25-26.24 regarding absence of board member Ms. Barbara Avalos due to illness. I know. The door. Talking about you, not to you or with you thing. Do I have a motion to adopt? Move to approve. Thank you. Thank you. I have a motion to adopt resolution 25-26.24 by trustee Sarmiento, a second by trustee Lopez. Please vote. Item. Thank you. Item 11, educational services. 11A is to conduct a public hearing to discuss the sufficiency of instructional materials. Call to order this public hearing on the sufficiency of instructional materials. Dr. Filion.
Yes, as you may recall, at the July school board meeting, you approved and adopted our instructional materials list for our core content areas. And as part of the Williams settlement legislation, this is our annual public hearing regarding assurances that there are sufficient state-approved textbooks and instructional materials in our schools.
Any questions? Any speakers to this? All right, then we will close this public hearing. Thank you. Item 11B to adopt resolution 25-26.23, determining the sufficiency of its instructional materials. Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Dr. Filion.
And again, as required, we are seeking for the board to adopt this resolution that states that there is sufficiency of our adopted instructional materials.
Thank you. Questions? I have a motion to adopt Resolution 25-26.23 by trustee Lopez with a second by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote. Item 11C is to approve CT 4316 with BCK programs to provide the Water Watch program to second grade students. Do I have a motion? Okay. Dr. Filio.
Yes, this contract is with one of our existing partners and will support our broad course of study programming. It allows for each grade level to have signature learning experiences. So BCK has invited us to be part of this grant subsidized program through the Port Authority. BCK programs will provide the Water Watch program to all second grade students for the next 3 years. And the Water Watch is an environmental literacy program focusing on watershed health through the lens of litter prevention. This supports our goals for students progressing in listening, speaking, reading, and writing through relevant, engaging, and meaningful content.
Trustee Sarmiento?
Yeah, you just said that it was a grant, so are we paying for this or is the grant paying for this?
So we're paying for half. We are
Right.
splitting it.
I
Yes,
see that we're splitting it with the port,
correct.
and I have concerns about this only because I know budget issues have come up a lot lately, and hand in hand with the decrease in enrollment. I'm apprehensive about taking on another project. It seems like a small amount, yes, 15,000 per year for a huge district like ours, but I'm just having trouble supporting this. That's all I want to say.
It is included in our LCAP plan as our broad course of study work in trying to ensure that each of our grade levels have these types of learning experiences. And so it supports our focus on environmental stewardship as well. So it aligns pretty well with our district focus around science education. And second grade was a group that we wanted to make sure that they were included in that process. And so that's why we're bringing this forward.
Yeah, so just to add to that, the funding has already been secured and approved by the board in the LCAP. It's a line item.
So why are we voting on it again?
This is the contract that you're voting on.
The same contract, or this is a different contract?
Yeah, one is the plan and one is the contract.
Trustee Lopez?
Yes, just to confirm, this includes all school sites, all second graders?
Do you have any other questions? All right, I have a motion to approve CT 4316 by trustee Avalos with a second by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda. Please vote.
Passes 4 yes, 1 no.
Item 11D to approve CT 4324 for vision screening with the Regents of the University of California, San Diego. Do I have a motion?
To approve? Second.
Thank you. Dr. Filio?
Yes, so we're pleased to bring this contract forward for your approval. This contract will allow for our students who are referred for follow-up vision screenings to access vision examinations as well as prescriptions for glass frames with corrective lenses at no cost to our families. These services would be offered to each of our schools through the UCSD Shiley iMobile. And so we are targeting up to 100 students per site to be able to receive that support.
Any questions? Trustee Lopez?
Yes, thank you. I just had a clarifying question. In the contract in number 2, 2.1, the responsibility of the university to educate district personnel to conduct vision services and related issues. So is our staff gonna do the screening, or are they having staff do the screening? I was just confused on that.
Yeah, so our staff does initial screenings for all of our students. And then from that, we average about 40 students per school site that receive that additional referral because they were flagged as not really passing that initial screening. And so that's why we're targeting up to 100 students per site. And then it would be the staff from UCSD who would do the follow-up. Sorry, yeah, our staff being the Radies staff.
Oh, I see.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda?
I would just like to say thank you to whoever was part of this group that was bringing this forward. I know that we had a gap in time that we had the Lions Club and their commitment to all of the doctors that used to be part of the program, the one site that used to service our students. And there was obviously some logistics that did not allow for them to come back. So to have this program be brought back to the National School District at a different capacity is amazing. So thank you. I know it's a lot of work, but our students need to be able to see, to be able to learn. So thank you. And this is gonna be a world of difference for our students in their education. So thank you again.
Further questions? All right, I have a motion to approve CT 4324 by trustee Bettencourt Castaneda with a second by trustee Lopez. Please vote. Item 12 is human resources. We do not have anything there. Item 13 is business services. 13A, to have a discussion on the solar projects. Dr. Cochran.
Thank you, Trustee Gates. So today I'm seeking some feedback on the board's appetite to investigate cost savings through a potential facilities project. And so SDG&E, San Diego Gas and Electric, has among the highest rates in the nation. That's the whole country. And in 2025, the district spent generously more than $1 million in utility bills that we paid to SDG&E. Although important, is not our core function. As an opportunity, there are solar programs that could potentially create a cost savings if we were willing to investigate them. Additionally, solar projects, beyond simply providing energy or reducing energy costs, they can function as a dual purpose. They can be placed in lots of different locations, but frankly, there's many districts that are placing them on playgrounds to provide shade. You may or may not know that to build a shade structure from freestanding out of the grounds is a very expensive process. You know, a very modest size structure can be well into the $100,000, $115,000 range. And so, you know, the district does not have funds to purchase or install solar panels independently. We couldn't, you know, front the cost on that construction. But there are things like power purchase agreements or PPAs as a program where the district would be spared all expenses of construction, be promised contractually the ability to lock in energy rates for the future at a particular rate, promised again through that contract. And I'm interested really in just some discussion by the board around whether or not they would be interested in us performing a study to determine what is our energy usage at all of our different sites. Do we have the ability to participate in such a program? What's the capacity? What would be the savings over time? Just to be clear, there hasn't been any work that has been done to this point regarding this. We haven't commissioned a study with anyone. We haven't, you know, done any of that work. But I'm just interested to know if it would be something that the board would be interested in seeing a report on.
Trustee Sarmiento.
Absolutely, I'm interested. I know, having heard what you just said about SDG&E, gouging us left and right, I can feel it at home. But two, I'd like to find out, what exactly this is gonna cost us, if there's an organization that will assist with the cost, and of course, we wanna save money where we can. So it's definitely something worth looking into, and I'm curious too as to whether that will include the battery backup. And I'll tell you why, because I purchased a solar system in my home, and the people that installed it said they didn't have the batteries, or they didn't provide them, they didn't do that. And now I don't see a difference in my bill at all, it's still pretty high, so, that's why I wanna make sure that the batteries are included, so we don't run into that problem. Now I have to buy a battery.
I can say just as a response, it's a little bit different than what residential applications are. In this case, typically PPA solar panels would connect directly into the grid. So they're connected to our switchgear and it happens automatically. However, you also mentioned performance. Typical contracts for PPAs, if there's damage to the panels or if the panels aren't making the production, it's on the company to come and fix it, not the district, because again, via the contract, you're promised a particular amount of savings. What that means for them is they really only make money if their panels are well maintained and working. So the onus is on them to do that. And I know we can, this is just preliminary, but just as a response to some of your questions, I hope that provides some information.
Sure.
Trustee Lopez.
Yes, I have two questions. One, do our utilities, just to clarify, come from our general fund? And then two, if we were to go doing a bid, getting someone else to do that consultation, and what would be that cost? If that's the process that we're thinking about, if not, what is the other process of the study and what is the cost for that?
Thank you. So all great questions. If I missed one of them, remind me. Regarding the cost for a study to be performed, the cost of the study is at zero, and that's fairly industry typical. When you initiate an agreement or an authorization to share metering data with a company to perform that, it's very important just to ensure that within that agreement, it doesn't commit you to something, any agreement with that company or a time frame, right? Can you remind me of your second question? I'm sorry.
Well, the first question was, if you're proposing this because there's gonna be a saving to our utilities. So I just wanna know, where is that cost coming from? Is it from general fund?
Thank you.
So
It does
we'll
come
say-
from the general fund.
Okay,
You're correct.
thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda.
Help me understand how we would, or why the company would come in and bring in all of this equipment at no cost to us and have that, there would be no, what would be the purpose of them doing it and have no, what would be the incentive for them?
I think this could be better explained in a later report that has some visuals, but just to describe it at the moment, it really is a shared profit. There's a profit that the school district receives by locking in a particular energy rate and not having to pay an escalating energy rate year over year. It's not necessarily about saving this year's funds. Sometimes it's about saving funds in future years when the energy bills will continue to escalate, but for the next several decades will be frozen in time at a current energy cost. At the same time that we're receiving some of that profit back for us, they receive some profit as well. And part of that profit that they receive is pays for their personnel, the maintenance of the panels, the fronting of all of the construction, because all of the construction is at zero cost to us. And they do make a margin in between. So if you are not able to afford, putting in panels yourself, creating that construction, this is an avenue to have shared profit. Some of we would keep, and it wouldn't be as much as if we were putting them in ourselves, right? But we also aren't fronting any of the costs. And then on their side, they're keeping some profit as well.
I just recall some years ago, there was another district that had this project. And it was very concerning because they got left high and dry. So it just causes me to pause to make sure that we're gonna do every possible of investigation of vetting each company. So I am very interested. It was something that we had the very first LCAP meeting at one of the elementary schools. This was the one only elementary school had this on their wish list. However, it scared me when they went all the way to litigation. It was very ugly. So we just need to be very cautious that we don't end up in their situation. So I have full confidence in you that we will make sure that we're not going to be in the same situation. But because cost saving is obviously something that we need to do, and the cost of the SDG&E is definitely rising, like was previously mentioned, we feel it at home. And so obviously that's something that we feel across our district as well. So, and the fact that if we're not paying anything out of pocket currently, I mean, and that you're explaining it to me, it's a win-win situation. So, of course, I would like to see a study of the uses of each school and see how we're going to be able to benefit from it. So.
I would just say that the cautionary tale for school districts of solar projects and that incident back in 2013-14 with another South Bay school, we all remember that situation. And I think what you're getting to there is it's critical to have a very well vetted partner and a strong contract in place that's professionally negotiated as well. So.
And the fact that you brought up about shading, that's important for our school sites. I know that that's a struggle at many of our school sites. And so if we can have a dual purpose in it, we can definitely benefit your money. So.
Thank you.
Trustee Sarmiento?
It's funny you should mention about the other school district years back. I was approached by the same individual who told me he had just had a contract signed with another school district. It did the national school district want to piggyback on that. And I said, well, I tell you what, let's wait and see how that one goes. Famous last words, thank you very much. But yeah, we know it was a nightmare and went through litigation. And I understand that the gentleman wanted a considerable amount of money out of that and was able to purchase a newspaper. So.
I think we have the good fortune of not being early adopters in this case, right? We've had the opportunity to see how this plays out in a lot of cases, and that helps us keep eyes wide open.
Any other thoughts or questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 13B to amend CT 3921 with ISOM advisors for continuing disclosure services. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Dr. Cochran.
Thank you. So as you know, when the district sells or issues bonds, there are ongoing financial obligations to file paperwork that's essential to maintaining compliance and transparency for both investors and the community. So although our financial advisors, ISOM advisors, pricing on disclosure services has remained the same since 2010, here in 2025, they've increased their disclosure services fee from $4,000 to $5,000, for which we're seeking the board's approval tonight.
Questions? All right. I have a motion to amend CT 3921 by trustee Avalos with a second by trustee Lopez. Please vote. Item 13C, to amend agreement for architectural and engineering services with SGPA Architecture and Planning. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Dr. Cochran?
Thank you. So last year, the board approved $1.7 million approximately with SGPA Architecture and Planning for architectural services. And the early completion of the playground work that occurred last year caused some of the original designs to no longer be relevant. And the agreement between both our architects and the district was that we should shift our ADA accessibility projects from being a single avenue, a single path of travel, if you will, to actually be what we call a barrier removal project. And so a barrier removal project is not designed to only be in one location. It actually allows for upgrades all across the campus in different little pockets or areas. And so the pockets or areas in the programming documents that we've currently agreed upon with SGPA are here in the board exhibits tonight. You could go in there and take a look at each campus, and you could see specifically what is currently planned that the design work will proceed on. A few things about that. There are some benefits. The accessibility benefits are no longer limited to one path of travel. There will be pockets of improvements all across campuses. Think about various ramps or bathrooms or walkways that will be spread out. And although that is a good benefit, there will be some additional design work. Of course, our architects are professional services, but they also have professional services, civil engineers and surveying. And so there are some additional costs, but approval of this would offer the district an avenue for designs to potentially be submitted to a DSA here in late November, early December, for them to be out and being bid in April, and with a possibility for construction to be able to start this summer in the timeline. So the district does have a strong plan of action. I want to be clear that this work, it did precede me. This isn't a change that I've made upon arriving, but this is where the district is. And we are currently looking for approval, both because of the project that we think will be great for the schools, but also because of the timeline that we could achieve in being able to construct this summer. And I would just add one last thing about that timeline. As timelines delay, construction becomes more expensive year over year with an average escalation of about 5% a year. So being able to, approve this and to reach or achieve a timeline like that actually will provide cost savings that could even out this situation where we're spending a little more on the amendment.
Trustee Lopez.
I'm just curious to know, how is this amendment different from a change order? Are they asking about the same thing? Is that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So an amendment, and there's a little point where you could say that it's semantics because a change order is based on a contract. And so now we've changed the scope. And so we've added that, and that's very typical in construction. Architectural fees, it's a professional service. It's not a construction service. And so amending the contract is appropriate in this case. Typically, our architecture planning services don't charge a change order fee. It's accomplished as an amendment to the contract. Thank you.
You mentioned barrier removal. My brain thinks that very literally. So honestly, are we talking about curbs that are in the way or is this, what do we mean by barrier?
Yes,
removal?
you're thinking about it exactly correctly. So architects will look at current code and they have a list that you can see in those exhibits that identify the areas that we believe are current priorities. And then they will take a look and find what about those areas is not in current code. And then changing to bring those areas up to current accessibility code is the barrier that's being removed. Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, and I do like the priority on more than one access egress path. Because, I mean, we've talked about it before, you never know where an emergency may take place. You never know what route might be blocked. To have students who simply can't get out because we have one path, and that one path is blocked seems wrong. I'm going to speak, just make a quick request to side item, but still within this. Mrs. Sarmiento, I was waiting for you to be the one who had to say that we can't read page 2's chart because it's so tiny. So I wouldn't have to confess that I can't read it even with my glasses.
I can't do everything for you.
Well, if it's possible, we have stuff like that in March next time.
Thank you.
Usually it's her, I don't have to do it.
I'll keep a good watch on that. I think probably on my screen, I zoomed it in without understanding how you would see it.
No, thank
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Oh, Dr. Brady.
Yes, so just a point of clarification, in the exhibit, which you received digitally, and it is attached to this item in our board agenda, anything that's in orange is part of the original scope. So you'll see each item numbered, and then if it's new, it's in yellow. So all of the new ones are identified in yellow. And then if it's been removed from the original scope, it's grayed out. And you can see most of the things that are grayed out, or a lot of them are either the playgrounds or the path of travel around the playgrounds, because a lot of that work's already been done. And so that's part of the shift that you're seeing, so that we were able to use our ELOT money and get our fields done ahead of time. But unfortunately, it didn't line up with the approval of the path of travel. So that shift to barrier removal allows us to add additional things like restrooms and water fountains and curbs and ramps and things like that.
All right. Well, I have a motion to amend by trustee Avalos with a second by trustee Lopez. Can we please vote? All right, thank you. Item 14 is board cabinet communications. Trustee Lopez.
So I just want to say welcome to our new employees, Noe, Petra, and Jeanette. Welcome to the team. And I also wanted to share, I had the pleasure of visiting El Toyon last week with Dr. Brady and Principal Denegri, and it was just wonderful to see Ms. Patterson's classroom, the TK dual language students, and just how engaged they were, and also in the other TK classroom. I also really like seeing that our new curriculum for science is being rolled out. It's very hands-on, and our students are very just engaged in what they're learning. So it was really wonderful to see that, the third graders. Shout out to Camila Hernandez. And it was also good to see the new construction happening at El Toyon, a better sense of where our funding is going and how we're using those pockets of money. So overall, wonderful campus. And I just want to say that my prayers are with our students and families in Minneapolis. We're thinking of you, and our heart is with you. And additionally, for staff, I would like to see, for us as a board, a report on the reduction of our SPED IAs, just to know what's going on with that and some of those concerns that we heard tonight. And that's it. Thank you.
Trustee Sarmiento.
Thank you. I have nothing to say other than I'd like to go do some site visits, and I think some of the things that were brought up tonight are concerning to me, and I'd like to follow up.
Trustee Bettencourt Castaneda.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome our new employees to the NSD family, and thank you for everybody being here tonight and for your comments. I'd like to echo with Trustee Lopez's to see a report on the comments here and get some feedback on what's going on. And I will continue my visits with Brady and get some information on what's going on. Would like to thank Dr. Brady for your time in our past few weeks on visiting our schools. Also had an opportunity to visit Eltheon the day before. Got to see the field in action, a lot of construction going on. So a lot of work. I know it's a little bit noisy, so please, teachers, bear with us during this time. So in due time, it'll be beautiful. So our students will have an opportunity to enjoy that amazing campus. And before we got on our way to Eltheon, we had an opportunity to be here during the orientation for our new employees. So thank you for letting me pop in. Let's see. I was able to go to Iyer Harbison it was the reading story time from one of our channel 8, 10. Let me see the wrong channel, they're gonna be mad at us. But it was amazing. I think they got to select 5 books and the students were very excited. Right? They were very excited and anything related to reading, it's just a blessing for our students. Today I had an opportunity to attend the South County Community School Summit. Very engaging, so many of our community stakeholders involved. Just to really have just to collaborate about our community schools, and it was very, very nice to be able to be a participant in that. So thank you for the invitation, Viola Lucy. Let's see. My heart also goes out to all of those members of the Minneapolis community who lost their loved ones and who were a part of that. And our former student, I don't want to mention names, although I know his name. I don't have permission, but it's tragic to have to go through something of that nature. And the community member who also was a part of that incident just recently. And wanted to wish everybody a happy Labor Day this weekend. Please be safe. And last but not least, I want to wish my middle child a happy birthday, 23rd birthday. So if anybody of these teachers out there, they are getting older than us. And I'll get a phone call or a text message. I can't believe it. But yes, 23 years old. So, no, I thank my children. So thank you for being here again and have a wonderful day.
Trustee Avalos. Well, I want to thank all of you that stayed here for the whole meeting. I think it's great. We listened to everything that you had to say. We certainly will go ahead and visit the schools more often and see what we have to do and take notes. Thank you so much for letting us know that. You know, I also want to, it's sad that our new family was unable to come today so that we could meet them. So maybe they'll be able to come at our next meeting and know who they are and meet them. And, you know, and thank you for listening to me on my report of Naleo. And the patience with me on reading and letting you know how I feel about it. And thank Mr. Crooken and our new family here, all the information that you have given us. And it's quite a bit of information. Thank you so much for for investigating everything and looking into it and making sure that we're very well aware
of what is going on in our district. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Dr. Coughlin.
Thank you. So since the last time that I was with you all here at the dais, I've had the opportunity to visit Central and Olivewood and be in a number of different classrooms at those two sites. I continue to be amazed by our campuses. Our facilities, they were built quite a long time ago, and at the same time, they're very well maintained. And we look forward to continuing those meetings and continuing to follow up on facilities matters as we go through those. Would also just like to say in this season of bargaining, thank you to our CSEA partners and our NCETA partners as we continue to bargain at the table. And I would also like to say that I would happen to be at Rancho and El Toyon as well on Friday, and had the ability to see a lot of construction going on. And it certainly is really tough. Construction is wonderful, it's progress, it's moving forward, but it's also really tough and tough for our staff. So just a thank you to all of the staff that are being as patient as they possibly can be during the time that we're getting in there and making improvements. Thank you.
Dr. Kevin.
I want to welcome our new employees to the NSD family. And like Dr. Cochran said, we had a chance to visit Central yesterday. We had a great visit. One of the things I commented about is last year at this time that we visited, they had the playground under construction. So it was nice to see that reveal and the kids playing on such a beautiful space. I want to thank all the teachers here today and also our instructional aides who have shown up today. Thank you for being here. And then also just happy Labor Day. Enjoy and have some time to relax with family and friends. Thank you.
Dr. Filio.
Yes, well, I wanted to really just make an announcement. So we're excited to be engaging in planning for our sixth graders to head out to their sixth grade camp at Camp Cuyamaca. Those trips are scheduled to occur in October and in December. But a unique aspect that occurs here is that Camp Cuyamaca holds an open house. And so our families are invited to go attend the open house. Sometimes it helps in being able to see what it's like and kind of helps, assuage some of those parental fears that people may have. And so that's going to be Saturday, September 13th from 10 to 2 is their open house. And again, to support our families, NSD does provide opportunities for transportation for families to go out and visit. So that link is being shared out with families from the school sites, but it'll be exciting for all.
Dr. Brady.
So I want to echo a lot of what's been said and just say thank you again to South County Teachers Association and the organizers for putting together the community schools collaboration today. It was really great to hear all voices in the room talk about what we can do to support our families. And we're excited that we have the community schools grants, and we're looking forward to implementing them collaboratively. I do want to thank Trustee Avalos for your report today on mental health. That is a really important topic, obviously nationally, but here in National City, and I love the connection that you made to our community here in National City, so thank you for that. Thank you to the board for approving our BCK contract tonight for the broad course of study. As you know, that ties into our environmental science. We're a coastal community, and we've done a lot of work and been recognized as a California Green Ribbon District, but there's so much more to be done, and we can't just do things to students or in our district. We have to involve the students and teach them about how to care for their planet and their community. And so we're happy that that's part of our broad course of study, and that their second graders are going to have the opportunity to engage in the Water Watch. Similarly, thank you to the board for approving the camp. that is also part of our LCAP and our broad course of study. And I remember a time where our teachers and our students had to go out and fundraise to raise money to go to camp, and it's very expensive. I'm looking at you, Miss Madonia. And now through our LCAP and through that collaborative process through the LCAP committee, we do provide that at no cost to our families. So that's another example of the broad course of study and the power of that collaboration. And then finally, I'll end with the last collaboration that we've grown over the last decade or so, and that's with Olivewood Gardens. I remember 10 years ago, we were having a few of our schools had a garden. Now all 10 schools have a garden. A few of our fourth graders got to go to Olivewood Gardens. Now all of our fourth graders get to go to Olivewood Gardens. Olivewood Gardens now comes, some of our teachers are champions and still are in our gardens, but now all of our students get garden lessons from Olivewood Gardens so that it's not solely on the classroom, it's in collaboration with the classroom. And after school now, I'm thankful that the board approved that we now have expanded garden classes through the hydroponics that will be starting shortly. And we have cooking carts, so the students will be able to use the cooking carts. And that growing collaboration over all those years, I'm proud to announce, has been noticed by the California School Boards Association, and we'll be receiving a validation visit for a Golden Bell Award. And if you are not signed up yet for this year's annual conference for CSBA, just let us know and we'll get you signed up because there will be a dinner to receive that Golden Bell. It would be great to have our entire board back. Thank you.
All right, so let's see. Again, thank you for coming and talking to us about what's going on in your classrooms. We will make it a point to be present. I will see what I can do with my own schedule to get there. As far as today, I did get to start my day with the South County Community Schools Summit, and it was good. Like, just NCETA was represented with President Sanchez there to make sure that her voice was there and contributing at the table. Principals were there, Mrs. Ferris, Dr. Filio, Dr. Brady. It was good to be there because it's not just us. They said there were 189 LEAs in San Diego who are doing community schools and are at some point in this process. And with us, we send our kids to Granger, to National, and then they go on to Sweetwater, and they have community school grants too. So how are we going to work together? How are we going to supplement each other? How are we going to build as our kids go from one place to another, or as they have an older sibling in one and the younger sibling in another? Like, the part of the point is we aren't just community schools, we're community. So how do we do this and do this well? And so this first meeting was kind of a call to action for us to be responsible for that as South Bay, as south of the 54, I guess we're a little north of that, but this group down here, National City, Chula Vista, all of us who feed Sweetwater, and what can we do well and replicate for the benefit of all our students and families. So that was good to be at. Got to follow up with a visit to John Otis with Principal Vine, and got to listen to that new science curriculum with Ms. Deanda in grade 4. I got to actually hear Mr. Baeza scare his kids half to death while they were taking notes. That was kind of fun. As they were settling and starting to get a little antsy, he'd just go, ready, and they just, the next thing. But the respect and care in the classroom was obvious as they were going over possessive apostrophes. So that was fun and beautiful thing to see Ms. Gonzalez with Kinder doing hot potato inside because it was just a little too hot for kindergartners to go outside. And to watch the kindergartners actually who lost and got out, encouraging and clapping for their friends and getting excited for the next person, that was cool. Because they're still little and they still just want to play, but they were really excited to watch and encourage. And thank you for Camp Cuimaca. Always thank you for sixth grade camp and to all the teachers and people who commit to that. With that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.